Hello and welcome back to My Own Worst Enemy. We are going to do a playthrough of Great Campaigns of the American Civil War. This is Thunder on the Mississippi, brand new, volume 14 according to the box here and MMP. This will also be more than a playthrough. We're going to take I didn't do an unboxing of this, so this is going to kind of take the place of that. We're going to look at some of the components in this. Now, this is my first foray into the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War. This will be the first time I've played a game of the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War. So as I play through this, if you are familiar with the rules and you catch something I do wrong, let me know in the comments below. That is going to be very important. I have watched some videos on this and read the rulebook a couple of times. Rules are not that difficult. That is, the basic rules are not that difficult. If you get into the advanced campaign, the advanced scenario rather, then you pick up a few more rules and it becomes a little more complicated, but I still don't think it's that bad. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And without further mystery here, the scenario that I'm going to be running is going to be Champion Hill. So I've got that set up here on this map. And let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the components while we are here. And I will zoom in when we play the game, so we'll be able to see this area more zoomed in when I move the units and there's combat. So this is the east map, says so up here, the east map of Thunder on the Mississippi. And let me grab the west map out of the box. This is the west map. Now, the only difference between the east and the west map, other than the terrain that it shows, is there is a turn track on the west map and a random events table and a siege track and some victory point and manpower loss track. And I'm going to say I'm a little disappointed that not necessarily the turn track, because most of the scenarios that use both maps, of course, will have access to the turn track. But there are one or two small scenarios that might have benefited from having a smaller turn track on this map, and maybe even the victory point tracker on this map as well. So in order to use those, you're either going to have to set this up off to the side or just track it some other way. And that's probably what I'll do, is just track it some other way. So you do get two of these full-size maps in the game, beautiful maps. This series is known for its fantastic map artwork, and I have to say that I really do like the map style. And speaking of that, let me grab the scenario book, because I believe that in the back of this thing, the credits appear. So this, of course, is a Joe Balkowski design with Chris Withers. The series game designer is Joe Balkowski. The map is Charles Kibler, and the graphic design is also Charles Kibler. So that's important to know. But yeah, this is Champion Hill. This is what we will be playing. I chose this scenario for a couple of reasons. One, I've read a little bit about this battle because my great-great-grandfather was actually in this battle and ended up being captured at the Siege of Vicksburg. He served under Stevenson here, and we'll zoom into this, look at it a little bit closer up. But he would have been under Barton. That's kind of neat, kind of interesting for a genealogical point of view for me anyway. So that's one reason. The other reason is, to me, Champion Hill seems like that at this level, the operational level, I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out. I would think, my opinion is that Champion Hill will be better served as a tactical battle, more zoomed in than what we're seeing here, but maybe not. I don't know. We're going to see. So I do have it set up, and we'll go through that one, like I said, as we get into this playthrough, and I will talk through how this is set up and some battle plans. We'll see the battle plans actually in this video before I actually fire the first shot. Continuing to look at the components, this is the Thunder on the Mississippi book that comes with the game. So this is where you will get your scenarios and some additions to the basic rules that aren't in the actual, and I'll grab the actual version 1.6 of the rules. So this rule book is actually pretty light. It's not a lot of rules in here at all. This is 22 pages of rules, but it's written very well. It's easy to understand, not complicated. And this book is so thick because it does include all of the scenarios. And then once you get towards the back here, it does include the advanced game rules for Thunder on the Mississippi. And so every Great Campaigns of the American Civil War has a book like this in it, where they will call out special rules just for this game in the series. And then in the back, I believe I saw designer notes, which I'll have to take a look at. And then one thing and this is really cool, and like I said, I'm new to the system, and when I saw this, I was really excited. I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to have to. And that's this map gazetteer thing, where every location, well, not every location, but the important locations on the map the hex numbers are provided so that you can refer to the map and look back at this to see what transpired at some of these locations or what the importance is of some of the locations on the map. But not only that, and this is also is really, really cool, and I'll turn to Champion Hill just to show you. So it gives the date and a little write-up about the battle itself. But in this write-up, when they're talking about locations that are being fought over or that are important to the battle, they will call out the hex numbers. So if you look here, it says E2529. So they're saying, look at map East, the East map, location, hex location 2529. And you can actually, as you're reading through about the battle, you can see what they're talking about. That's just really, really neat. And I would love to see more games have that in them. That's awesome. So this is, like I said, this is the scenario book where you've got nice setups for these, special rules, your victory conditions, everything you need to play the game. We've already looked at it, but I'll show you again. This is the standard basic game rules. Comes with every volume will have a rule book in it. This is the newest. This is 1.6, and you would want to use this if you went back and played some of the earlier games. And I believe, let's take a look here, because like I said, this is the 14th volume. And if you look here at the introduction, it lists all of the volumes in the series. Now I own 4 other games in this series, and this is the first time, like I said, I've actually played a game in this, so I'm looking forward to the playthrough. So let's look at what else we get. A terrain effects chart. So this is the standard terrain effects chart, front and back side. So terrain will come into play, obviously. Then we get a combat chart. Now this is just a player's aid card. So we're going to get the combat chart, summary combats, advanced sequence of play, those kinds of things will be in here. Retreats, flanking, what is that? Random events table, movement summary, cost to enter hexes, command radius, extended marches, those kinds of things. You'll also get these force trackers. So as you can see, it's probably hard to see, but there's a stack right here that's probably 10 or more counters tall. You can actually put down force markers, put those counters on these sheets, and then put a force marker on the map. But I'm not going to do that because this stack isn't, having 1 or 2 stacks like this isn't that big of a deal. So I'm not going to worry about it. Now the counters in this game are 1/2-inch counters. They're very nice. I've got mine in this Aegis tray, and I just chose Aegis at random here. I've got a couple of trays. I've got GMTs, I've got DVGs, I've got Cube for Me's, I've got all of them. But this is how I decided to store the counters, and I'm going to pop the lid off of this. And so normally when I clip a game and put it into a counter tray, I normally haven't played the game. I normally just clip it and sort it best I think that makes sense. This may not stay like this. When I play the game, I may go back and re-sort this to make, if something makes a little more sense to do. I don't think it's going to happen in this case though. Basically, I've got the divisions and the cores in a tray, and then I've got the control markers are off by themselves, and then the actual strength markers for both sides are separated all out. The fatigue markers are over here. These are the 2 D6s that were included in the game, and then down here are just some generic informational markers. And then off to the side, I've got just a Ziploc bag full of these informational counters, and there are a ton of these things. So that's basically how I've sorted the game. So I'm going to put this cube, not cube for me, but this Aegis tray back to the side. And that's it. That's everything you get with the game. And it's quite a bit of stuff. So this, if you can use, as you can tell, both, if you were playing the entire campaign, you would set up both of these maps side by side. And it takes up a pretty good sized footprint, and there would be a lot of counters on the board, and it would probably take a while to play through the entire campaign, but I bet you'd have a good time doing it. So let's go ahead now and zoom in and talk about Champion Hill itself in a little bit more detail. So here we are zoomed in to the area that is, Champion Hill is actually going to be where Stevenson is right here. So the Confederates have Stevenson on Champion Hill, the crossroads it's called. There is Lee, who is, the game setup tells you to put Lee on his, I believe this is called the fatigued side, and then the actual strength counter is disorganized. So he starts off disorganized and not fatigued. It is, what is it that I'm trying to think of? It's exhausted, that's what it is. Fatigue, I guess, and exhausted are kind of the same thing, but in this game they're different. as you can see back here, Reynolds actually has a fatigue marker on him. But when you flip a counter, that means the unit is exhausted. So Lee starts off exhausted and disorganized. And on top of Champion Hill, Stevenson on top. Then next to Stevenson, you've got the Army commander is Pemberton. So this is quite a stack here, and it's probably hard to see that with this camera. And then next to that stack, we have Loring and some other divisions. So I'm going to slide this off to the side. So these units actually started here in this Ellison hex. And I will kind of spread apart Pemberton here to let you see what's in this hex. So there's Cockrell, who's on the very bottom. Now he's also exhausted, and was he disorganized? No, he's organized, but he is exhausted. This unit is not disorganized. It's Green who is exhausted. And then this is Bowen, the Corps commander, or the division commander. I'm not sure which it is in this particular scenario. And this one is disorganized. This is Cumming, who is under Stevenson. And also we have, and I just knocked the whole stack over, but this is Barton, who is also fatigued and disorganized. And this is why you'd want to use those off-map force trackers, because you will knock these stacks over if you're not careful. So Barton, this would have been the one my great-great-grandfather served under. He was in the 40th Georgia under Barton at this battle. And so I'm going to put these back on top of this Ratliff hex here. You can see the Confederates are not in great shape here to begin with. I think they were planning to pull back anyway before this battle happened. So and then back here we have Reynolds, and I'm not sure what Reynolds is doing back here. He is fatigued. He's on this hex that is right before this bridge, Austin Bridge, and I don't remember what impact Reynolds had in this battle. I'm not even sure I remember him being in this battle, but that doesn't mean anything. So this Pemberton stack is here, and I'm going to try to keep them all organized without messing them up. And then over here in this Ellison hex, this is where we have Loring. So we have, who is in here? We have Featherstone, who is exhausted but not disorganized. And then we have Beaufort, who is exhausted, but he is organized. He's not disorganized. And then we have Tillman, who looks like he is exhausted, but he is not disorganized. And on top of him, we have Loring. And Loring would be the division commander there. Now, like I said, they start here in this Ellison hex. So the Confederates are not looking so great. Now then, of course, we have up here Grant. And under Grant, I think is McPherson, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, McPherson is here. All of these troops are organized, and they are not exhausted or anything. So these guys are coming in fresh. And there's a lot of units here. So if we look under Logan, he has strength of 12. Like I said, the Confederates are in trouble in this one. We're going to put Grant back up here. We have Hovey over here, who has 9. Crocker's coming in with 9. McClernand has Osterhaus under him, who has 6. Carr is coming in with 7. Smith is over here with 8. And then Blair has 8. So now I did have questions about setup in this, and I asked these on Board Game Geek, and they were answered. One was, what's the deal with Blair? He has no leader that corresponds to his color or his brigade there. And it turns out that the special rules address that, and they say basically that Blair can participate in any active leader or assault action with McClernand or McPherson. So that's what how he will be utilized. And so that is how we start. That's the setup. This is one turn. That's the other reason why I picked this one. So we're only going to have one turn. This was probably a 4 or 5 hour battle in reality. So that makes sense as to why this would be one turn. And talking about now how I'm going to actually handle this when we start playing. Let's look at that. So for the Confederates, it's kind of easy. In fact, there's a special rule that says the Confederate is suffering from movement paralysis. Basically, that's going to slow the Confederate movement down. And the Confederates really, about the only thing they can do here is this superior force that's coming in, they're just going to try to hold best they can. And I think they're going to have to end up retreating at some point. Now, historically, the Confederates could have retreated across where Reynolds is here at Austin Bridge, but the Union came down on this left flank and were able to drive, I think, one force back across that bridge, but they captured it and forced Pemberton, the rest of Pemberton's army, to try to come down and move across, where is it? This lower Baker's Creek Ford here. And so they ended up escaping that route. Now there is another ford over here. What does that say? Whitaker. Now the rules tell you you cannot use that, so that is out of play. So the Confederates, if they withdraw, will have to withdraw either here or here. So what will I have the Union do? So I think what I'm going to have the Union do is we're going to have, we had McPherson was under here with Logan. So I'm going to have Crocker, Logan, and Hovey. I'm going to have them come down this way and hit the Confederates along here, along this line. And then I'm going to have, I think this, I said this was Osterhaus under here. Yeah, so Osterhaus and Carr, I'm going to have them swing around and kind of hit this right flank if I can. And then Blair and Smith, I want to have also come down and around this way to try to trap Pemberton's army into maybe not crossing this bridge. If we can trap Pemberton's army, that would be great. The victory conditions are, let's see, basically it's all on the Union here. It's up to the Confederates to lose it, and I suspect they probably will. You get 5 victory points for the Union if an undemoralized unit occupies Champion Hill, which we said was where Stevenson is sitting. You get +4 if they occupy Coker, which is 2730, which is here. So basically they're going to get most of their points from occupying these locations. And I may mark them with a cube or something so we can see what they are. Also, they'll get +3 points if they occupy 2531, which is this bridge, which makes sense. And then if they occupy 2631, which is this other bridge, they will get 3 points. And then, of course, they will get 1 for each route result applied to the Confederate player. And they'll get various other points for various other things. Routing, the Confederates will get points if they route Union player units, and then manpower changes will generate points for either side. So that is the setup, and I've talked about my battle plan for the Union. The Confederates really don't have a battle plan, like I said, other than to try to hold this area best they can. And you saw the numbers coming in. I don't see how they can possibly withstand the onslaught that's coming unless the dice are in their favor, the die rolls are in their favor, which you know how it goes, it very well could be. So that's the battle plan, that's the setup. I'm looking forward to finally playing great campaigns of the American Civil War. This is Thunder on the Mississippi. So when we come back, we will play through the Champion Hill scenario and see how it plays. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you back here next time.